Well, I just tried to download something, so someone is hindering my right to free speech. That's another crime, along with torture, using remote neural monitoring to knock one out, to cause brain trauma, frequencies to the heart, to cause palpitations, heart attack. I can't follow you from one location to another. You have to deal with it for 2 years at one location or more, and then come to this location and have to deal with the same shit. That's not a coincidence. To be spied on, your shit hacked. For which would be an illegal wiretap. To break-ins, thefts, stalked, followed, harassed. And for people to say they don't hear my alarms, no. Because while I was making that video, you could hear somebody above me thumping around. So, I wouldn't want to commit perjury in court or lie to a court. I would say 8 or more took place at my last address or last street, including my last address, to a minimum of 8 at this address in this neighborhood. I mean, you can't beat this as proof that somebody picked your lock and broke in. I'm tired of having frequencies or whatever it is rain down. It's either government grade or military grade. That's against the law. That's an act of war against the people. The U.S. declares that torture is illegal, the UN, and the Geneva Convention. Being knocked out by mind-altering drugs or equipment to cause pain and suffering, psychological or physical pain. Now, my last video was denied due to no connection when the router is on the other side of that wall. I'm done with the, I never heard of the alarm. I'm done with the, no one would ever do that. Conspiracy against another is a 10-year felony. Torture is 20. That's 30 years. That doesn't include stalking, stalking with intent, or no, stalking, surveillance, surveillance with the intent, divulging private communications, telephone misuse. I don't think they got a law for paying people to mob someone. I'm not sure. I don't know what that would fall under. But since this crime, since this shit, this torture and shit started at my last address, and they had the equipment first, I'd give the equipment back so they can give it back to the right agency. I've already wrote out my affidavit of truth. So my First Amendment was violated, my Fourth, my Eighth, no cruel and unusual punishment inflicted. But it's not really a punishment, it's more like torture when you look up the definition of torture. I have motion sensors, alarms on the door, windows. It seems to be that a lot of people do a lot of things for earthly goods, little trinkets. And it seems to be that a lot of people that take part walk away with cars, gift cards, and other monetary gifts. I'm willing to take a lie detector, polygraph test, whatever you want to call it. How about everybody else around me that I think is taking part? How about everybody else? Is everybody else willing to take a polygraph test? To the fact that I've been tortured for almost the last 3 years, but maybe longer, since I had a stroke and seizure at 1:30 in the morning, May 12, 2012, and 5 months to the day later, my wife's heart stopped at 1:40 a.m. Somebody's above me right now. At least it's creaking up there. And the crystal clock next to the bed stopped at 1:40 a.m. That's how they used to call patients' time of death at the hospital back in the day. The doctor would look at the clock and say time of death is, and then he would look at the clock. I took the battery out of my clock after my wife passed, put it back in, reset the time. Battery worked for 6 more months. I find it kind of hard to believe that she would pass 5 months to the day later, and almost the same time at night that I had a stroke and seizure. I'm tired of the criminal bullshit. Old address, I'd have people lurking in the bushes 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. This shit's old for people to say, oh no, didn't know, didn't take part, didn't let anyone in, didn't do this, didn't do that. When I've had frequencies come down on me from my last place to this place, aim specifically right at my heart. That seems like intent to kill or cause heart attack. Torturing. I started going to church last July, and until I moved, I ain't never missed a Saturday, since Saturday is the day I go to church. I ain't never missed a day up until I moved. Never. Even if I was running late, I still got there a half an hour before Mass started. Just like in court, this is my Bible. Is everybody else willing to do that? Everybody else willing to take a polygraph test? I even got the same spot on the back next to my left shoulder blade that burns. I mean, burns. It's been doing it since last summer. Imagine that. It ain't no pinched nerve. I'm tired of being spied on with hidden cameras, my phones, tapped, hacked, wiretapped, whatever. So whatever equipment was hitting me at my last location should go back to the last location and give him back to the right agency. Under the US, the UN, and Geneva Convention, torture is illegal. Psychological torture, psychological torture, torture that inflicts pain and suffering, all illegal. Breaking and entering, theft of goods, stalking, harassment. I'm done. I filled out an affidavit of truth. I keep trying to upload one with my face in daylight. I did one at night, but it was dark. I did one on my other phone, but it said couldn't find server, even though the router is right there on the other side of that wall. blacklisted, blackballed, slandered, followed, GPS'd. I paid a lot of money at my last place to not get the finished product. And then to have to move because of. People ought to look up what happens if it's not a habitable living space. And you're the only one that is supposed to pay rent. People should look that up. My beard used to be just one gray stripe right here. Now it's both sides. That's due to stress and remote neural monitoring, taking away just hours. Seems like a lot of people take part in this criminal activity that ends up being a RICO act because of monetary gifts of any type. Today's June 14th, quarter of 8 a.m.